Okay, everyone, to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have another fun review for you from the brand Nivada Grenchen. Originally founded back in 1926, then later revived in more recent times in 2018. This is a really awesome, pretty well-known vintage brand. Their core idea is to respect as much as possible the original designs and stick to authentic specifications while offering affordable prices. Their goal here is to provide what the Nivada and vintage watch aficionados are asking for, and I think they've done a really amazing job with this. Particularly this piece being super versatile. I mean, it falls into various categories. You can consider it an everyday adventure watch that's sporty, legible, and tough. Of course, it's a chronograph, so you're going to have external pushers to activate timing functions, multiple subdials to measure elapsed time, often featuring additional scales dependent on the subgenre, which this crosses quite a few, and mainly focusing on the dive watch space, where you're going to typically get some type of water resistance to some type of screw down crown. You're going to have something that's tough, legible, with a dive time bezel, and in this case you're even getting a 12-hour traveler's bezel as a bonus. This is the Chronomaster Broad Arrow Automatic, and it's pretty special, guys. It really does a lot. It's kind of this go anywhere, do anything before that formula was even a thing, which I think is pretty exciting. Technically, it actually is a Chronomaster Aviator Sea Diver, or CASD for short. And again, it's far from a typical chronograph. Originally designed back in 1963, it was intended to be a tough diving capable chronograph that could be used in really any situation. And its iconic dial and bezel combo packs as many complications as known to be possible for the 60s. From the standard stopwatch function to a tachymeter to a yacht timer, the Chronomaster, in short, is really just this versatile piece that is really needed for anybody to be able to use, and it just has all those great capabilities. So with that said, a little bit of a long intro, so let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay, guys, so as you can see, really a stunning piece, and although there is a lot of information on this dial, the nice thing is it's actually really well spaced and doesn't feel really cluttered at all. Now let's get into the main event here. So you can actually get this for under $2,000, yes, at $1,995. Pretty good deal, I think, considering everything that it's able to in terms of its capabilities as well as the form factor, guys. This is only a 38 millimeter diameter watch, and typically a 38 millimeter diver would feel a little bit small on my wrist. Same actually goes for chronographs, where it really, because of how stout chronographs can be, a 38 might feel a little bit tall, but somehow this watch has done some magic, and so it just worked for some reason. 38 millimeter diameter, only 14.9 millimeters thick, which is really nice, especially considering that this is an automatic one. And then it is 46.4 millimeters lug to lug. It is made out of full 316 stainless steel. It's brushed with some nice polished bevels there. You can see very nice, and the brushing is quite nice as well. So quite impressive from a build quality standpoint. Getting into the crystal, it's a nice double domed box sapphire with inner AR coating, so it is quite legible even at very harsh angles. And of course, very handsome in terms of that profile, which is great. And then we get into the bezel. It is actually friction fit, bi-directional, so but the amount of effort that it takes to actually turn it is very positive. Like, you are going to need to really you're not going to accidentally get this to move It's really nicely dialed in, which I can appreciate. I would of course prefer to click mechanism, but I think of course one thing, keeping the thinness, also the period correct nature of it, it works for me. So I would feel very confident, you know, if I'm going to be traveling and using it as a 12-hour indicator, saying, all right, I'm going to go now into another time zone that's 2 hours ahead, that would actually work really well. Or let's say if I was dive timing, that I could set that and forget it as well. So very, very nice. Then getting in, and also you can line everything up perfectly because it is just friction fit. Getting into the crown here, you can see nicely signed and screw down, and we don't have screw in pushers, which is why this dive watch does only have 100 meters of water resistance versus something of a higher rate. But because of that, it also keeps things nice and thin, and you know, the form factor again is something that I think is really, really nice and pretty underrated about this timepiece, because of, you know, it kind of was like a super capable everyday watch before, you know, that was even really a category. So I think that's really, really nice. And then the movement inside, although you can't see it, is actually a Swiss automatic Sellita SW510 BHB. It has a 62-hour power reserve, beats at 4 hertz, and of course is a chronograph and is very, very nice. Getting into the details of the dial here, matte black dial, printed. There's no date. You do get those nice polished hands. You're getting old radium superluminova, and again 100 meters of water resistance. You're also getting 20 millimeter lugs, which does make this quite versatile. And I think on the Tropic strap it is very nice. I actually just recently released a new flat link bracelet that has a fitted end link from Forstner, which I'm really excited about. I think that's going to look great also, especially because it has a female end link, so the drape on it will be more natural, similar to the way that it is on strap, versus some of the previous options where it had more of a male end link style, which kind of would raise it a little bit more off your wrist in terms of leaving some gaps there. So speaking of on the wrist, let's actually get this piece on the wrist and see how it wears. Okay guys, as you can see, it wears really fantastic on my 7.5-inch wrist, and you guys know that I'm a big sucker for a Tropic strap, and this Tropic style strap that they provided is very, very nice. Has really great finishing on the buckle. If I can get it to focus there, check that out. Very nice bevels, nice hairline brushing, and a beautiful taper down to 16 millimeters. Of course, if I get it too close to the camera there, it's going to have a little bit of lens distortion. So what I like to do is keep my hand down and away, and then just kind of tighten the shot up so that you guys can get a more realistic aspect ratio on how this will wear. So you can see very nicely centered, and it does have a great amount of wrist presence. And again, this is typically a kind of combination to look a little bit small and undersized, but somehow it really does a great job. And I think a lot of it has to do with the lugs, although they're not overly long. I think the way that they contoured them does help elongate the body just a bit, and I think it looks really, really great. So with all that said, let's actually get this piece off the wrist, set up for some Lume shots, the light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. As you can see, very nice Lume. It is a dive watch, but it's also a chronograph. It's also a traveler's watch. It does so much, but it does have, you know, of course, nice orientation in the dark. You can see the 12 o'clock. It does have that little extra bit of, you know, the 2 markings there. A little bit faint on the small viewfinder here, so hopefully you guys can see it fine on the big screen. But one thing I like to work in is some low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to be coming in and out of a building, walking underneath an overhang, you know, maybe hanging out underneath the shade of a tree, or just spending time in your favorite automobile. So it's nice to see what these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting, to even include maybe some harsh lighting, which typically would expose any type of defects there within that finish. But you can see it is really, really nice. That bezel insert, really beautifully finished. I'm assuming that's going to be an aluminum insert. Great printing on there, very crisp and legible. And then, of course, that dial is a matte black dial, but it isn't too textured. So it definitely is going to, I think, be a little bit more predictable in terms of lighting. It's going to look very, very black. You know, even if you completely try to wash it out, it still looks, you know, black, or if like a faded black or an anthracite. So nothing too crazy. It's not going to pop and all of a sudden appear to be a different watch. But I have to say that the watch that it is very attractive, so I don't mind it at all looking this way in most lighting, which I think is nice that it does render, you know, quite legible even in mixed lighting conditions. Of course, depending on the way that the light is going to capture that bezel insert is going to depend on how much, you know, extra functionality you're going to get. But in terms of telling time, it absolutely does do the job. So for me, guys, closing thoughts on the wrist wear surprisingly well for a relatively stout diver slash chronograph. It's super capable feeling, sits very nicely on the wrist, and I really, really like that. I'm, of course, right now a huge sucker when it comes to just kind of skin divers in general, especially on a tropic strap. This really captures that aesthetic, and then it also gives you tons of other things and benefits like that, of course, that beautiful chronograph layout. So a lot to like here. In terms of model variations, there are a ton of different automatic and hand wound options, so definitely check the site links in the description for availability and options. Now, in terms of comparable models, there's not too much competition in this space that I'm too familiar with, so definitely let me know in the comments below if there's something else out there that jumps out as you as a direct competitor to this piece. For me, this thing just really stands out as kind of offering so many great feature sets in a really compact case that I think is actually quite versatile. Like if you have a larger wrist like me, it's not going to seem undersized, and if you have a smaller wrist, it'll absolutely be wearable, which I think is great. So for me, guys, the bottom line here, chock full of features and capabilities. This sporty, you know, diver slash chrono combo somehow perfectly straddles the lines, balancing both scale and proportions to offer something that just feels truly special on the wrist. And I have to say a huge thank you to Nivada for sending this piece out. I'm going to be sad to see it go. This is just a review sample, so it's just a loaner, but definitely have enjoyed wearing this piece and spending some more time with it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do hit like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.